I'm Dr. Z. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. Let's discuss today paralysis analysis and how it actually not only can interfere with your transition if transition is for you, but also can make you get to a point of complete standstill. As a result, you may not really make any kind of progress because of it. So what is paralysis analysis? Well, paralysis analysis is a point when you are overthinking, you are overanalyzing, you are turning things or worries inside of your head, looking at it from all the different angles, trying to see all the different outcomes, trying to see all the different ways that transition might unfold. And as a result of all of this overanalyzing that takes place inside of your head, instead of getting to a viable solution or a viable direction to take, instead you become paralyzed. And because you become paralyzed, you feel incapable of making a move. You feel incapable of making a decision. It paralyzes your decision-making aspect. Paralysis analysis, analysis paralysis, if I should say, although it works the same way, is something that all of us experienced, not just in relationship to transition, but all of us experience in all other areas of our life. When we get into this cyclical loop of overthinking, what I like to call mental masturbation, when you're just not really getting anywhere as a result of it and become really, really stuck. Paralysis analysis is not very helpful when it comes to making decisions about your transition or about your gender, because again, it gets you in this point of standstill. It gets you in this point where you just don't know in what direction to go. And usually the reason why it happens is because in your head, you are overanalyzing every single potential outcome. Every single potential outcome of what might happen if you transition. If I transition, I'm going to lose all my loved ones. What's going to happen then? If I transition, I may not get the changes I want. If I transition, I may get changes I don't want. If I transition, I may not look passable. If I transition, I will not find a partner. So you're overanalyzing and overthinking about all of the scenarios. Most likely, I would bet it's the scenarios you have went on internet, went on YouTube, listened to other people's stories, and you basically, if you look at it, you're not really overanalyzing your scenario because nothing has happened to you yet. You're overanalyzing a scenario that you witnessed or heard somebody else recall. So you're overanalyzing somebody else's life in a way. You're really not helping yourself. You see, that's the problem with overanalyzing things, that often we don't overanalyzing what may be happening to us. We're overanalyzing what has happened to everybody else, assuming the same thing is going to happen to us. And that's one of the biggest fallacies about paralysis analysis. Now, analyzing and not overthinking, but analyzing and thinking about and applying logic and analytical type of concepts in order to make decision whether you should transition or not is actually a really good thing, right? You also don't want to jump in with feelings. You don't want to jump in with perhaps kind of like an obsessive desire. You also do not want to jump in with, I gotta have it now, I gotta do it now. You want to be able to apply the faculties of your mind in order to really see if it's the right decision for you. And that is okay. What you don't want to do again is overanalyze every single scenario. One of the best things you can do to break yourself from paralysis analysis, if that's what you're struggling with, is to actually sit down and write down on a piece of paper everything that you're worried about. So everything that's making you stand at a standstill, write down everything that you're worried about. And then go piece by piece by each one of the statements that you wrote and ask yourself, for example, I'm going to lose all of my family if I come out, right? Look at the statement and ask yourself, do you have any factual information that actually supports that statement? Is there actually any factual data that you have that may support this from happening? And if you do, see what percentage of fact that actually supports the statement. Is it 10% that that's likely to happen? Is it 100% that that's likely to happen? So write it down and go step by step and see what kind of factual data you have to support those statements. Then you want to go back and you want to look now at the data you collected and say, okay, so this one has a higher likelihood of actually happening to me. Then you need to ask yourself, do I have or may I potentially have what I need in order to resolve it? Or do I have support that I need in order to go through this? Or the very important question to ask yourself is this: if I don't transition, again, if transition is important to you, if I don't transition, right, this will never happen. But if I do transition and this does happen, would I still be better off having transitioned? Because now I'm not suffering and now I'm not going through all the turmoil the gender dysphoria brings me. So ask yourself, in other words, would I be in a better position than I am in now? Yes, I may lose some things, but am I ultimately going to be in a better position in relationship to myself? Am I going to be a healthier human being? Am I going to be a happier human being? Am I going to be a less distressed human being? Am I going to have less dysphoric symptoms as a result of this? And if the answer is yes, then I would say is a pretty good outcome, in a sense that I would say go forward even if you're afraid that this might happen, because the outcome you just have calculated outweighs losing this right here. Does that make sense? So you want to do kind of cause and pros analysis. You don't want to overanalyze things in your head based on how it happened to anybody else. You don't want to place that script of, but I heard so many times that this happens to so many people. I heard so many times that this happened to somebody I know. I heard so many times this and that. I've seen this so many times. I read about this so many times. You don't want to go off somebody else's data. You want to go off data relative to you and your context, because that's really important. It's really important to look at your context, at your situation, at your support system, at your circumstances when you're weighing all of these pros and cons. Otherwise, what happens is that, again, you're in that masturbation loop, right? Mental masturbation, where you're overthinking, overanalyzing, you're losing sleep over it, and you're at a standstill. And here's the thing about the mind that you guys need to understand. Mind is helpful to us, and our mind is also incredibly detrimental to us, because our mind is also operates within our sense of self. So in a sense that as much as the mind can help us derive a solution, at the same time, the minute our mind comes up with a solution, everything that we fear about the solution creeps in. And then the mind goes, okay, well, I gave you the solution, but now you're afraid about the solution. Now we're going to go ahead and analyze the fear about the solution. And so the mind is very good at keeps going and going and going, because the mind's goal is to really find and solve a problem. That's what it's really, really good at. So you have to be careful how the feelings play into it, because essentially, again, you're becoming a hamster in a hamster wheel. Because essentially what's happening is that you are putting obstacles in front of your mind that not only not there, but also not even yours. So you want to be careful with that. So that's why writing down and concretely seeing things is really helpful. And that way it also takes away a lot of feelings that may not be relevant to that. Remember, feelings are just feelings. They're not always relevant to what's going to happen to us. They're just feelings that you may feel right now in this current moment, and they may be passed on. So it's really important to write things down. So keep that in mind. If you're experiencing paralysis analysis, know that you are most likely overthinking. If you are in a position in your life right now where you know deep down inside you need to transition, where you know deep down inside you need to do something about your gender dysphoria, whether it's coming out or whether maybe it's doing other elements in your life, and yet you are paralyzed, you can make a move, because in your head when you're thinking about, okay, I'm in front of a door. I need to open this door. But I can't open this door because I am envisioning, and inside of your head, you're envisioning thousands of different ways opening the door and what's behind it is going to unfold. That's how you know you're at a standstill. That's how you know you're overanalyzed, you overthought it. That's a problem. That's not going to help you, and that's just going to keep you further and further away from your goal and further away from your happiness, and it's not worth it. Always write things down. If you're struggling writing things down and really doing pros and cons analysis, find somebody to help you break it down. Maybe find a counselor, a therapist, maybe find a support group where you can bring it up. Do it with a friend, do it with your partner, do it with somebody. But it's really, really helpful to see things concretely written down. Again, the minute you see yourself having a million different scenarios inside of your head about something that you want to do, you overdone it, you overthought it, this is how the fear actually creeps in, right? Think about this. Let's say, for example, let's say, for example, I want to write a book, right? And my first idea, I want to write a book. I think I can write a book. I think I'm ready to write a book. And then suddenly I start overanalyzing. Well, am I actually a good writer? Can I write a book? What if the book is not going to sell? What if nobody's going to read it? What if the book is going to be really bad? What if I'm going to get really bad criticism? What if I'll never pull it off? All of this, what ifs, what if. Now, I have gone miles away from that initial desire, miles away from that initial instinctual, intuitive decision making of I want to write a book. Now, because I'm so miles away, the chances of me actually doing it are very, very small, because now I'm wrapped up in all of this what ifs. What if. This is what paralysis analysis does to you. It's literally paralyzes you, and that's a problem. So be careful with that. Be careful not to overthink it. Clearly, you want to give some thought. You want to think about transition, or you want to think about whether to come out to people in your life. You want to think about how to do it. All of these things are really important. You don't want to rush into things, but you also want to notice a big difference between rushing into things. And I'll do a video on when we actually become obsessive about things and we rush into things. So you want to have this healthy kind of gap between rushing and yet at the same time being so far away because you're overanalyzing things. So you want to be somewhere in the middle. So think about that. If you find yourself again in paralysis analysis, notice that it's not your best option, because you're going to be at a standstill, and chances are you can be at standstills for years and years and years. Another thing that you might tend to do, you might tend to fool you thinking that you're actually thinking and you're actually overturning your options and you're actually trying to derive a solution, but at this point you're not deriving at solutions. At this point you're no longer capable of making a decision. At this point you're just overturning the same things over and over and over and over and over again, and you really need to move away from that. So comment below, let me know if you experience paralysis analysis. I'm sure many of you have. How did you get yourself out of it? What did you find was helpful so that others can find help within those messages? Comment below, let me know. I'd love to read your comments, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye.